So the half anniversary official units, because Kaido is part of the anniversary, but I just do not count that boy as an Anni unit, is going to start on the 2nd of May. From that point forward, we will be getting our anniversary units and primarily the events. This video is going to go over the anniversary unit kits, the materials you need to actually build them so you can maybe start getting their grade resources early by exchanging for them in the map event shop, and go through a couple of events to help you get ready. So let's get into it. The half anniversary, essentially, in my opinion, starts on May 2nd. And I mean, we already have most of it. Like I've already recommended, I recommend you guys to put half of your AP packs into, when double drop is active, into enhancement support mission number 7, the 7th stage, and then keep the other half for when JJK 0 comes out. As of right now, this is what the schedule is kind of speculated to be. So on the 2nd, we get Zone Yuji. On the 9th, we get Domain Gojo. On the 15th, we get the Yuta rerun and then Miguel. On the 16th. And then on the 23rd, we're going to be getting Blue Geto rerun. And then on the 30th, we get Sukuna. Now, Sukuna isn't technically part of Anniversary, but he is in that time period that's just very hype that you could technically consider him part of Anniversary, and no one's going to fault you for it. I will not be going over Miguel in this video because I really just don't see a use in him, okay, besides 52. So if you want a video on that, let me know down below, but I just don't really give a fuck. I'm not going to lie. Now, as JJK 0 rerun is going to be part of this, the other half of the AP resources you're going to put in is going to be for the story event and primarily the map event. The map event's actually going to have a community event unless they just decide not to do it, where the more monsters we defeat, there's going to be like a special map event stage specifically for this event, where the more mobs we defeat, you're actually going to get more community rewards. I think it's on JP, it was up to 800 million mobs defeated, but it's probably going to be much lower on global for multiple reasons. One, because JP didn't even finish that event, but also two, because I don't think like global players care that much, but we'll end up seeing how they decide to go about that at least. Now then, starting with Zonji, he's going to be on the 2nd of May, and essentially he is going to be we're going to get into his kit. He's going to be taking the tableware and the ornament. So these are the two resources you're going to want to grind for Yuji in terms of his grade. Now, the only thing I would say is, like, for all of these units, I would not get any of their levels with chaos crystals, because we are going to be starting to get SP units, and SP units, to actually get their buffs, need to have their skills level 10. So I believe on Yuji, there's not really anything you really need to go for. The only thing is his skill 3 is the one that's really big in terms of damage. So that's basically it. Now, besides that, what does Zone Yuji do? What is his kit looking like? So essentially, Zonji is going to be trying to get his ult, and after that he is going to be snowballing. So his skill 2 out of zone state is going to give him ult charge, and then his skill 3 is going to give damage reduction and break damage. Now his ult is going to put him in zone state, guaranteed black flash, 1500 damage. Very strong ultimate overall, but this is not his main damage. Now once he's in zone state, he gets extra taijutsu stat damage. He's going to get black flash rate 50%, increase cursed energy consumption by 5, so 30 becomes 25, 25 becomes 20. He's going to get 10 cursed energy. He cannot use his ult during that turn, but you couldn't even get it anyway in most cases. Well, besides one recollection, but I guess. Then you're going to be also getting a when you black flash 5 cursed energy. And I think this is at all times, not in the zone state. And he is resistant to poison and soul damage, which is actually pretty good if we're being honest. There's a lot of poison, so that's definitely not a bad thing. Now, once he's in the zone state, the effects of the 2nd and 3rd ability change, and of course cost 5 less. So the skill 2 now is going to be giving 20% taijutsu, 29% taijutsu for 2 turns. And then as the first action, crit rate and black flash, second action, damage dealt. So you could get a pretty nice buff of 29 and 30% damage increase, but it's not the biggest increase. Considering it's 517, you're not going to be using this one. You're going to be using the skill 3 with a 680% taijutsu, giving break damage, and the break damage is very important for multiple reasons. One, to be able to get them in break and start doing more damage when they're in break, but also two, to make sure you're not taking damage in those turns, right? I think just getting to break is very important, and the damage difference is about 160%, so it does allow for the skill 3 to kind of take the cake, because even if you do have these buffs, unless they're really multiplicative, it's not going to be the biggest increases, so you might find yourself using this once, but overall you're going to be using the skill 3 more, if anything. I would say skill 3, skill 2, skill 3, skill 3, or just skill 3 the whole time usually works just fine. And that's going to be Zonji. His damage is going to be very high if you think about it. This is essentially basically like a 1360% damage alt twice, right? So you have 1500 and then you get this twice. And you might be like, oh, but the recollection bit, you're going to actually run a recollection bit specifically for this, which we're going to get into in another video. But this recollection bit is the one that you're going to see me run, where it gives 65% taijutsu on all the 4 attacks, which is going to be very strong. So yeah, no, honestly, pretty good unit overall. Best yellow DPS, I would say. Now, I'm not really going to get into if you should summon or not, but I will definitely say that he does help a lot for the recent floors on JP, but also at the same time, he is not necessarily a necessity because Teen Gojo works. But if you do not have Teen Gojo, then I would say he is basically a must summon. But I also believe they are going to have another DPS, maybe a Jogo, or like a Choso or something for 1.5 Annie, or second Annie being yellow. So if you care for any of that, then maybe hold off, because on global, that's either in 3 or 6 months, right? Because we don't have to wait that long for it. So, you know, you have to keep that in mind, that maybe waiting 6 months to get your cool DPS might be better, or 3 months, you know, we'll have to see on that for sure. Now then, domain Gojo. So I'm not showing the full thing because I don't really agree with everything they put. I just want to show you guys the material. So thank you to the wiki. I mean, I always have a link down below and I'm using it. So, you know, not really that much of a problem. But he's going to take the waist ornament and then also the bell, right? The bells, and then the decorative ornament. So these are going to be the 2 materials that you're going to need for domain Gojo. Now he is, I mean, just logically a must summon. The only skill you really need to upgrade is going to be this one, because you see that it goes from a 50% damage increase right to a 100. So essentially the extra 200 still there. Even at like level 1, it's going to be a 250% damage increase, but at level 10 it's a 300, right? So keep that in mind. Now how this guy works is essentially you want to get his ult before turn 6. If you use it like turn 6 or higher, it's going to be a 300% damage increase, right? And with the 300% damage increase, it's also a 2-turn stun and a 4-turn infinite void status, right? Which also has the chance for them not to attack in those turns. Now, furthermore, they also cannot increase their ult skill count for 4 turns, which is absolutely huge. And of course, the 300% damage increase. And then, what's it called? So you could get a 1 turn, 1 count left. It's only a 25% damage increase, but it's still going to be a base of 100, which is still 125%. Now, he cannot use any skill besides the skill 1 for 3 turns, cannot charge his alt gauge for 3 turns, but it also does increase his urgent business count by 1. And yes, he only stays for 9 turns, but in some cases, you're going to double ult, so he might be there for up to 11 turns. And funny enough, he can Black Flash, so that's going to give him extra Jujutsu and also crit rate when he's in the zone state for 3 turns. But that's also very good, because if you do skill 1, I get the Black Flash, for example. Well, with the Black Flash, that's going to increase your Jujutsu and crit rate, which is then going to increase your skill 2 and skill 3 damage once you're out of these infinite void state that you were in, right? So keep that in mind. Now, he does have attack immunity, obviously. Now, his skill 2 is very strong. It's going to be a damage decrease up to 50% if you do keep on stacking it, while being a super duper strong 530% AoE. Very fucking good. Now the skill 3, however, is 700% while being a 45% buff. So if you want to use Gojo as a DPS, which it is definitely possible, this could literally stack up to 3 times, which is like a 135% constant, which is insane on a 700%. Like, got me fucked up. That's absolutely insane. But you're honestly sometimes almost better, because this is 500%. You're almost better to just use the ult and then use the skill 1. This could do 2 million, 3 million damage at a time. You're going to see Domain Gojo in a lot of content still be doing insanely good damage when type advantage and still do damage when type disadvantage. So this guy's is going to be insane. The only skill you really want to level up is the ult, but if you do plan on using him as a DPS, it would be mainly the skill 3. You could definitely do this skill 2 also to increase the damage decrease that he does, so keep that in mind. But yeah, so now Geto. Geto's one unit that I think many people are going to want because he's such a good support for Jujutsu units, and also as a damage lowerer, he's going to be super good in that niche. Also, he takes gilded adornments and also decorative ornaments, right? So what is Geto doing? Well, essentially, he's increasing his cursed energy every turn by 20, right? So he's getting 30 CE every turn, but he's going to need it, right? Now, when he defeats an enemy, he gets 10 cursed energy, right? And that does remain unchanged. So he did get buffed recently, so he might not even kind of know what his kit is anymore. So we're going to go over that. The skill 1 actually is going to give him a Jujutsu buff for 15% if he's above 60 CE. Overall, it's not really that good. You're never going to find yourself using this if we're completely honest. But it is there if you run out of cursed energy at least to get this. Like, let's say your cursed energy is lowered, then it's not bad. Now then, the skill 2 is going to be a 333% Jujutsu damage. And it's going to decrease the selected enemy's taijutsu stat base 28, but if you're at 60 cursed energy, it's going to go up to 35, right? Which is very good. But then you start off, I don't get why it says this, but whatever, you know, between 31 to 60 cursed energy is 31 to 35 taijutsu lower is what it's going to be. So against, like, for example, the red mob, the red monster, you're going to be able to lower his damage so much to the point where, I mean, if you have max CE, he literally could do 0 damage. You will not be damaged because you're able to stack this 3 times, which means it is a 105% taijutsu lower, which means literally 0 damage. So that's great. Now, he also, Geto could, in the same skill as he taijutsu lowers, he could damage increase for Jujutsu up to 50%, which is a 150% total, which is a bit lower than green Geto's, but because you could use this like in 3 turns added taijutsu lowers for anything that isn't mono green, obviously blue Geto is way better. Now his skill 3 is an AoE, very good because it's 200%. That's also able to increase his own damage by up to another 100%, and then he also puts a debuff of up to 30% damage increase on all enemies, which is pretty good, but you won't really see that much of a use out of the skill 3. It's mainly the skill 2. Now, when he's sub DPS on blue, he's going to have a 760 ult, which might not seem like much, but there's a built-in 30% Jujutsu stat and also up to a 200% damage increase, which is absolutely absurd, especially because he's going to be increasing his damage with the skill 2 also. This ult is going to be doing as much as blue Gojo, just to make sure that you guys have that in your head. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? If they're the same dupe, they're going to be doing the same damage, and of course he's supporting while doing that, so putting him with Sukuna is going to be great if you do want to get him. All right, now next up, Yuta is also going to be rerunning, and Yuta is going to be taking belt waist ornament and precious gemstone jewelry. Now for this guy, he actually did get a lot better. His cursed energy was increased by 30, which is going to let him to get his heals while not suffering. So this just kind of got a bit of an extra damage by 90%. Not that crazy. Now the skill 2 actually got an insane buff. So the base damage was increased by 15%, went from 135 to 150, but you're also going to get increased damage of up to 90% when you're at 60 cursed energy. But more than that, it's going to apply a debuff for 2 turns. That's going to increase Jujutsu damage received, which is going to be very fucking good, of up to 35% above 60 cursed energy. But remember, he starts out at 70, and you're going to probably just use skill 1 for a couple of turns, which is going to let him get to like upwards of 100, right? So he's going to be able to get that extra 35% for his ult that he did not have previously. Now skill 3 didn't really change much, like 137 to 140, 189 to 190, 172 to 180, then 258 to 260. So like maybe 10% increase, 15, not that crazy, but still pretty decent skill 3. That's going to do a lot of damage. You could do like after ulting like 2 to 3 mil like twice on this, which is really fucking strong. And because there's taijutsu, you can black flash on this, which he actually, we're going to get into that after, he can black flash and it's going to be good. Now his ult is a 2000% that also increases taijutsu and jujutsu by 20% for 4 turns. And why that's strong is because that allows his skill 3 to do even more damage than it did, which is huge. And then unable to fill ult gauge for 4 turns, right? So it's going to take a while to kind of build up the ult, like up to 7-8 turns, but it's fine if I'm being honest. Now, when any ally's HP is 60% or below, not his, and he has more than 10 CE, he recovers all allies' HP by 25% besides himself, which kind of does suck. But he does have a counter, kind of low chance, but still. Now, he decreases his CE by 10 when he does it, but he gets 10% taijutsu and jujutsu permanently, and also 200 ult gauge, which is very huge. But now he also, when he does perform a Black Flash, gets 20% jujutsu for 3 turns, which is huge. So this guy's pretty good, not a necessity, and if I'm being honest, 1.5 anniversary, I'm expecting either a Choso or a Megumi that's red Jujutsu. So Choso might be taijutsu if we're being completely honest, or half-half, we'll have to see. But I would definitely say that I'm seeing either Megumi or Choso red unit for 1.5 Anni, which is 3 months away on global, so keep that in mind. And yes, it works differently because JP is going 2 times as slow. So Global is doing a 2 times speed to catch up for the first anniversary of Global. So keep that in mind. Yeah, like Yuta is great, but I don't know if you necessarily need him. Is he amazing? Yes. Better than Toji? Yes. Best red unit DPS at the moment? Yes. So keep that in mind before you summon. I will make a separate video on if you should summon and why. Now then, Sukuna is great. The best blue DPS still. We're gonna see if Ino beats him very soon, but this guy is absolutely goated. He's gonna be taking transforming tableware and bell waist ornament. So this guy, very fucking good. So every turn he has a chance to heal. If he didn't get hit, 20% chance, 6,500 heal. If he took more than 3,000 damage, right? 50% chance of a 6,500 heal. If he got hit 2 or more times for over 3,000 damage, 6,500 heal for 85% chance. Now he's immune to poison, darkness, soul, stun, confusion. Okay, very good. And I think burn. It grants 30% flame resistance. Okay. Now more than that, when he performs a crit, he increases his own damage by 30%, 20 CE. And when he receives a hit of 3,000 HP, 50% chance to get 20% 20% taijutsu and jujutsu. So this, if you take damage the turn before your ult, there is RNG elements to this with the damage increase and this, but his damage is actually going to be even higher. Now, skill 1 is actually going to be pretty good, and you're going to use this if you're not running Pride, right? So 200%, but it's also going to fill all gauge by 100, right? Now, the skill 2, if you're using Pride, is what you're using. 350%, pretty good. And then gives crit rate and crit damage. So it's going to give in total 150% crit damage and 90% crit rate, which he desperately needs because his ult has 10%. 10% crit rate on the ult. Insane. Now, we're going to go to the skill restriction after. The skill 3 is going to do 240% and inflict 2 stacks of 20% dot. Now, when there's 40 or more, it's going to do 480. Insane. And then if it's at 90 or more, it's going to do 1200. Guys, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. And then do 3 dots for 3 turns. And you know what that means? That's another 150 for 3 turns, which also means an extra 450. So in total, this ult is literally 1600 essentially, 1653. Insane. Now the ult is going to enter domain, sure hit effect, attack nullification on the enemy is nullified, if ever we get Gojo enemies and they have attack null, well, fucking, oh my god, he's going to be insane, Sukuna. Now, his ult baseline deals 1684. Very good. Remember, he has 150% crit damage on that. Alongside that, he applies 4 stacks of 50% dot. In total, that's 200% per turn, 200% per turn. And in total, it's going to be upwards of 800%. Now, each stack of laceration increases an additional damage of laceration by 20%. So how I could interpret it is the first stack is 50, second 70, third 90, fourth 110. So in total, let me just kind of do the math because I haven't really done it. I think it's plus 70. Sorry, so 200. It's 320. And then there's going to be more and more. So it's going to kind of scale higher as you get more stacks. So the last turn of stacks is going to be absolutely insane. Like the damage that you could get on this is very high. I'm not really going to try and understand this too much. I think it is just additive to where if there's 4 stacks, that means each laceration could be like, I don't know, like 100%, 110%. But I'm not really too sure on that. Honestly, let me know down below what you think, but I don't think we have a guaranteed understanding of this. But just know the bleed damage is high, right? The bleed damage is high. This ult, if it works as I expect, it literally is essentially almost up to 3,000%. Like his ult is doing a lot of damage. Now activate skill restriction for 2 turns. cannot charge alt gauge for 3 turns, but increases the maximum amount of CE he could have by 100 for 6 turns and gets 200 CE. And we're going to see why that's important. Skill restriction status can only use skill 2, I believe, right? So the skill 2 and skill restriction status is going to be really good because it's going to give him 50% damage increase on that attack at least. And the higher own CE is when attacking, bigger damage dealt up to 150%, which he will have because he has to use it, right? And then it's going to be dealing for 50% damage with a 150% damage increase and debuffing the enemy for 45%, which is going to let this skill 3 do insane damage because you're going to be able to use this twice in a row with a 90% maxed out CE, 1200 with the extra debuffs, with the bleeds. You're putting more bleeds and each stack is giving more damage, and that's why he's so good. So yeah, Sukuna's insane. Hard to kill him. Possible, but hard. And then you are going to be able to do your bleed damage type neutral, remember? And then his damage is also just absolutely insane. So yeah, no, this guy is very good. So those are like the 5 main units. Now, Miguel, very quickly, I'll just give you a quick explanation. Essentially, skill 2 is a damage increase, very low amount, damage reduction. Skill 3 is a taunt, but you can only use it every 2 turns, this skill. And he also decreases the enemy's buff value by 30%, but so far, we've not found a use for this at all. So that is honestly quite unfortunate, but it is what it is for now, I guess, but it is pretty sad. Now, he does apply attack nullification and does put a debuff, but overall, it's mainly he could lower the value of buffs, taunt, and give himself damage reduction, but it just doesn't mesh well. Like, just use fucking green sake, man. Like, on God. So yeah, that's Miguel, but do not summon on him, please, man, until we find out. Like, so far he's not been needed for any of the new tower floors, maybe in like 6 months, hey, but at that point it's just not worth it, right? So, you know, those are the 5 main units and then Miguel that you're going to be able to get. So that's going to be it. Who are you guys summoning for? Let me know down below and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.